I got to tell you, I am so excited to be here. The power in this room that I can just feel is, I have missed. I'm not going to tell you I missed board of director meetings, but I have missed the members. I have missed the union leaders, and I can't thank you enough for. So I want to thank Fred and your group, your leaders, for inviting me. But I want to start off by just saying something. You probably don't realize this. I do appreciate you bringing up that I've traveled all over America, all over the world. I've been to many places in the world, and I guarantee you there's something you don't know. You are the most powerful postal labor union in the world. The most powerful. You belong at the table, you are at the table, and you're able to affect change like no other labor group I've ever seen. Don't ever forget that. So I have a couple of prepared remarks. I'm never as smooth as these, as some of the professional politicians, but I got a couple things I want to talk about. So I spent a lot of years as a union leader, and I still believe in myself as a person that represents the common person, the person who does his job every day and day in and day out, and then has a representative, a union representative that speaks for him. I believe in that now more than ever. I started out, didn't know anything about unions, went to my first union meeting, and within a couple of weeks I was the secretary-treasurer. That's kind of how it works. I know there's someone in this room that had that happen to them. And then it turned out I was on probation, and they found out they weren't allowed to elect me. So I had to, relinquish my position temporarily because I was on probation at my company. And once that period was over, I was the secretary-treasurer. And I went from that to the vice chairman and on and on and on. And I won't bore you with all that, but I will tell you that eventually, I became the president of the Airline Pilots Association. And the Airline Pilots Association has its roots with the letter carriers. In this very city, in 1931, 91 years ago, just down the block here at a hotel, ALPA was formed. And the president of ALPA was a young man named Dave Binky, World War I veteran, who secretly got everybody together to form that union, okay? And they formed the union because they were airmail letter carriers. That's what they were. So, being the new kid on the block with the 1931 union, when you all proudly wear 1889, we have the same roots because our president came from Wisconsin. Your union started in Wisconsin, and here we are in the great city of Chicago, a labor city, still fighting to win on the problems that affect all of us. I'll give you a little flavor of what it was back at that time. They met in secret, and they were called the key men that formed that union. And the management of these airlines that only were profitable because of their airmail contracts, they didn't like them forming a union. So they had to hide their real identities, and they came up with letters. And the United pilot, he was known as Mr. A, and it went all up through all 20, they had 24 of them. And if they were found out, they were punished. And what do you think the worst punishment at the airline was at that time? They assigned them, if they found them out, they assigned them to open cockpit biplanes flying mail at night. That was their punishment. No nav aids, burning smudge pots across the country, and it was very dangerous. But as I heard this morning, as dangerous it was flying those airplanes, it's not as dangerous as I heard this morning about Fort Pierce. And I'll be taking that back. I'll be taking that back to the Board of Governors meeting I'm at tomorrow, because there's no reason that we continue to have safety and security problems for the letter carriers that are so important to this country. So soon afterwards, it was difficult in 1931, but soon afterwards, the leader of ALPA, he was able to get into the AFL, now the AFL-CIO, as you know, and when I showed up at the AFL-CIO Executive Council, Fred, he was the old head at that time, he'd been there about a year. I showed up and he took me under his wing, we were working together, and I'm gonna tell you, there's a lot of people in the room in the labor movement that have the loudest voice, and they scream and they yell and they tell you they're fighting, but I gotta tell you, that doesn't always work, that fight the fight. What your president does, he fights to win. Okay, he's methodical, he's persistent, he's careful, he works through that. I mean, he can be loud, he can do things, but I'm gonna tell you what, the measure is, like I heard also this morning, actions matter, and he's been able to achieve things. He's a successful labor union leader, has represented you and your members quite well. I was very proud to serve with him on the AFL Executive Council. It was mentioned that I happened to arrive when the governor, the other governor, not your governor, was talking about election mail. So being the new guy on the Board of Governors, they gave me two committees. You know, you're the new guy, this won't be so hard. They put me in charge of election mail in 2020. Yeah. Hey, how do you like me now? But I went into it with a resolve, okay, to get the job done, to make sure that that was working properly. And I can tell you, I spent a lot of time learning about election mail, and at the end of the day, you and your members know this, but people don't talk about it. 99.7% of all ballots arrived on time or early because of you. Another data point you maybe haven't heard, prior to that, vote by mail had been about 21% of the total. That was in 2016. It was 46% of the total in 2020, and it was on time and successful because of you and your members, your leadership, and your culture that says, I will not be denied. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this done. Your ballot's important. But if you, again, I don't want to badmouth the media, but I do want to make a point. If you watch the media, you think that you weren't getting your job done. You got a job. You got it done. Now, I don't know how you did it. I really don't know how you did it. The letter carriers, day in and day out, delivered without the resources, without the support, without the facilities, with trucks that caught on fire. In the places I live, they have some bumpers that are zip tied on and other hoods that are taped down with postal tape. And you still accomplished a mission to 161 million residences 6 days a week, and with some contracts on Sunday, with no support. Imagine what you could do with all the proper support. So, On the employee experience, I listened to your resolutions today. It kind of brought me back a little bit, but let me tell you a little bit about this. We've converted 76,000 pre-career employees to career status from October 1, 2020 to July 11th of this last month. 76,000. We've been enhancing employee safety. We're ahead on the accident rate year to date, but we have so much more to do. But one thing I want you to be aware of, we're measuring it and we're taking actions, and we recognize we have to do better. We're promoting the workforce development through defined career paths. And this current executive team, they've successfully negotiated agreements with the 4 largest unions. And when I was the president of ALPA over a 4-year period, I represented many pilot groups at many airlines. We were able to do 19 agreements. Let me tell you, agreements are very difficult to get done. For them to do this and set the stage for your next agreement, your next set of agreements, when we've done a better job of managing the United States Postal Service, I think is setting you on the path to more success. We've, on modernizing technology, I would ask, how many of you all ever seen one of those LLVs catch on fire? But I don't have time to go to each one. But we've deployed 286,000 new mobile devices for you, and we've heard some great ideas today on how to enhance those devices. Going to take that back. We've deployed 48 package sorting machines dedicated to postal operations so far this year, and 35 additional machines will be deployed before the peak season. On these vehicles, like I tell you about, and I know there are some people who probably love them, we've announced the procurement of 84,500 new vehicles, and now 50% of those, of the first 50,000 buy, will be the next generation, will be battery electric vehicles, not because we're giving in the pressure, because they work in the markets we've looked at. That's what's important. We want to make sure the letter carrier has the equipment that works for him. There are some places there's no infrastructure and no money that a battery electric vehicle won't work at this time. So we're not going to give you something that doesn't work. We're going to give you something that works. It's working, it's safer, it's better, and has air conditioning. So we're working on improving facility conditions, lighting, space, acceptable dockyard parking conditions, safety, security. We're enabling local commerce opportunities. We're investing in more equipment and automation. We're enabling green initiatives and reducing carbon generation. But remember, first and foremost, we're going to deliver the mail to that citizen. They get their Social Security checks, they get their election ballots. If you're a veteran, you get your medicine. You are doing the most important things that need to be done. Better working conditions, achievable goals. So I'm going to end with a couple things here. First off, I want to end by thanking you for inviting me. It's an honor. And next, I want to tell you, your leadership team that you have. And I've been involved with the union world for a long time, maybe not as long as the gentleman that was talking to me this morning, in 40 plus years, but I've been involved with it for a long time. You have competent, mature, intensely loyal, dedicated union leaders up here. And it really gets me excited about the union movement when I see people like that. And Fred Rolando, he's the best of the best. I'm glad to have served with him. I believe you're lucky to have him. I want to thank you again for inviting me, and I'll turn it back over to Fred. Thank you so much.